Good morning. We'd like to welcome you to the BlackUSA.News Morning Show. We're joined with journalist John Rydell. Good morning, sir. How are you?
Good morning. I'm great. How you doing, Donnie?
Good. It's a busy world, John. Elections are coming up in less than a year, next June. Roya Hanna jumped into the state's attorney's race yesterday.
Yes.
Of course, shootings are still in the news, and not just in Baltimore, but across the nation. I still hear rumblings of Trump. Everybody's, a lot of people are second guessing the president, Biden, on Afghanistan. What's been going on in your world?
It's overwhelming, isn't it? It's just, and then on the anniversary, the 20th anniversary of 9/11, and you see all the images on TV, and it's depressing. It's very sad, and you wonder how far our world has come in 20 years. And I mean, you probably remember where you were when you saw the news. I was just driving to work in Baltimore, probably in the JFX or something, and I was listening to a music station. And the disc jockey came on and said, "Oh, a small plane has crashed into the World Trade Center." And that's all they said. So, if you're in Baltimore, you're thinking, Baltimore's World Trade Center? That's what they said, a small plane. So I get to work, and then, I was in a TV newsroom. We're all sitting around watching the monitors and everything. And it's just, oh no, this isn't a small plane. It's not Baltimore's World Trade Center. And then as we're watching, the second plane comes right in because it's like a live cam on top of the building or something. It's 20 years. It's people are still recovering. But.
It was a Tuesday, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, Tuesday.
And back then I had a regular radio show on WOLB. And that happened just before I was to go on the air.
Right.
So I remember running around downtown trying to get to City Hall to see what the response was there. Yeah, but I remember actually calling into to 1010 WOLB. And then I found out I had family over at the Pentagon and family at the World Trade Center. And so, of course, immediate prayers went out to them, hoping and praying that they were okay. And then you started to hear all of the stories and the theories, who did it. You heard about the bin Ladens being flown out of the United States.
What was interesting about that day is that everybody, as a reporter, nobody, what do you do? I think we sent someone to the Pentagon because I don't know how long it took them to get there once we heard that the Pentagon was hit. But I just remember going downtown and everybody left work, whether you were at City Hall, we were near the federal courthouse, federal building, everybody left. I remember federal marshals running up West Lombard Street you could see their weapons out in the open. Nobody knew, it wasn't likely that Baltimore was going to be hit, but we didn't know, who the enemy was. And that was the frightening thing. And of course, we all worked double shift or whatever. They sealed off all around City Hall and around a police headquarters. And there were guys with weapons out and open, whether they were city cops or whoever they were. And it was frightening. And now 20 years later, with Afghanistan, it's just bringing out old wounds. It's just very troubling. I actually found a ticket that I had bought for an Oriole game that night, believe it or not. I still have the ticket. September 11th, 2001. I was going to go with a former colleague of mine. Well, then, as you know, everything shut down. I think they canceled all of the baseball games for at least 6 days or so. And suddenly none of that was all that important. And it was,
September 2002, I joined Arthur Murphy. Arthur Murphy is the late brother of Billy Murphy.
Sure.
And Arthur was in love with Jordan, When he was in college, he had a college roommate from Jordan who invited him there. And Arthur had been going to Jordan ever since. September 2002, I find myself in the Middle East. I think that was about a 12-hour flight. I'd never flown that far. And Jordan was amazing, especially the food. But it was on the 10th and final night that we get a note slid under our hotel doors. We were staying in Movenpick hotels. Those were like 4- or 5-star hotels. I never lived so luxuriously. But the note said, be careful, you're in a kidnap zone. Now, I'm from North Avenue, John. We already knew something was funky a long time ago. We had armed security wherever we went. But I'll never forget, you know, I wanted to say, no joke. I mean, we're in a kidnap zone. No joke, for real? Like, duh, of course we are. Because we're the ugly American. And that's what was really imprinted on my forehead. Regardless of the issues here in this country, when you are abroad, you're all American. We're all American. And that gave me a deep understanding. So when I have gone to other countries, it helped me to understand that a lot of times people want to come to America, but people don't like Americans. Right. Or, put differently, as we travel abroad, we have to be mindful that not everybody loves us. Some people really hate us. That was a tough pill to swallow. That even though, you know, I come from a community that's not all that embraced in America, when you're overseas, it don't matter. You're all the same. Right. And 9/11, I don't know that we've been together as a people, as an American people, since then. Because at that point, a lot of the walls that we have between various ethnic groups and communities were lowered. And it was like that camaraderie, we're all in this together. You know, of course, over time, it shifted back to the way things are. But at least for a moment, we all knew that we needed each other. And a common enemy became terrorists. But then the question became, well, just who is a terrorist? And specifically Al-Qaeda, ISIS, right. Terrorists, Islamic extremists. So it's been a learning experience. When we were there in Jordan, I met an Iraqi soldier. I should mention also that September 2002 is when the U.S. troops were landing in Jordan to invade Iraq. So we were literally in the middle of a war zone. But I can tell you this. For one, we must have been there in the middle of wedding season. All day, every day, you saw weddings. Now, you got to understand the backdrop. If a woman is caught guilty of fornication, she's stoned to death by her own family. So marriage is a big thing there in Jordan. Also, I remember, the weddings, there were olives. Every meal we had olives. I mean, I've never seen so many olives in my life. I think I lost my second point, but it was different. It was really different. But I also learned this. A lot of times I've seen Muslims here in America put Muslims in the Middle East up on a pedestal. Oh, I got my point now. And I came to realize, don't put anyone on a pedestal. No one. Don't put anybody on a pedestal, because when you pull back the curtains, like they got rules, you can't wear wife beaters or, you know, undershirts, strap undershirts. You can't wear shorts. You can't do a whole bunch of things that don't fit their culture. But when you pull back the curtain, John, people are the same all over the world. Sex, drugs, alcohol, rock and roll, sexually deviant behavior. It's everywhere. It's all over the world. So no culture has a monopoly on righteousness.
Well, I do remember Art Murphy. Used to interview him occasionally about city politics many years ago. He died far too young. Very interesting guy, as is Billy, but totally different. But you think of what's different today than it was 20 years ago, and
COVID.
well, yes, but who is the enemy? Who is a threat? And I just saw on network news this morning the preparations that they're making in D.C. for this rally, protest, whatever you want to call it, September the 18th, I believe, on the grounds of the Capitol. And these people are, and it's co-sponsored by some of these Republicans on Capitol Hill, these young Republicans, Trump supporters, and they're going to show up, I guess, to somehow defend the people that were attacking the Capitol police officers and trying to get into the House and the Senate chamber. And of course, they got into the Senate chamber, I believe. And the woman that came from San Diego that was trying to get through the doors to the chamber and was shot and killed by the Capitol police officer. It was interesting, and I didn't see the whole interview. Lester Holt interviewed him, and he was saying if these people got in, there were still members of Congress in that chamber. And keep in mind, these people didn't go through metal detectors. They just, hey, we're just going to have a good time and go in. So who knows what would have happened? Was she armed? I don't know. Probably not. But somebody in that crowd was. Would there have been members of Congress shot and killed? And of course, they were after Mike Pence. So, 20 years later, this is what we're dealing with in the U.S. I fear that on September 11th, something's going to happen somewhere. I mean, there's going to be a terrorist incident. We hope it's not here.
You know what?
I don't know where it's going to be, but I think the security that's been beefed up. We're not having planes hijacked like we did in 2001. The airport, I haven't flown in years. The airports are a mess in terms of security, but they're catching people that are maybe innocent people just bringing on a loaded gun in their carry-on luggage. And it's just a part of them, I guess, and they're being detained. They don't even think about it. So it's not so much, at least in the U.S., the foreign terrorists. Now we're concerned about homegrown domestic terrorists.
Going back to the Ku Klux Klan, founded in 1865 in Pulaski, Tennessee. I write about it in my new book, I Am Black Wall Street. John, one thing that came to mind, I got to share this with you. I was traveling with about 8 other journalists. On 3 different occasions, people lost their cameras. I never lost mine. But people lost their cameras. And on those very same occasions, cab drivers brought back the cameras to the hotel, and we were the equivalent of crosstown. If I live in West Baltimore, we were like in East Baltimore. We were like in Randallstown. They came all of that way to bring us our cameras. I have never seen such integrity in my life. But there's a reason for that. And the reason is because stealing is not only frowned upon, stealing can result in you losing a hand. I remember that.
Here's an interesting story real quick. My grandmother, who died, like 4 years ago, she lived in D.C. and she was an elementary school teacher at Sidwell Friends. It was a private school, very prestigious. And my grandfather passed away, a few years earlier. And she had traveled overseas a little bit, but she wanted to see the world. She wanted to travel. And so she arranged for this trip. And she went to European countries. She went to Morocco. She went to Israel, Iran, Afghanistan. I've got some of the postcards. So this is a woman who's widowed in her late 60s and felt safe enough. Oh, okay, I can travel. And she probably had groups that, bus tours and things like that. And I think there was a diplomat in Afghanistan. And again, if you teach at a private school in DC, you might be babysitter for some of the kids of these diplomats or so there was some ties there, but she still traveled alone. I mean, who, at any age, a single guy or something, two guys, who's going to make that trip? You can't make the trip anymore, COVID or no COVID. It's just, and but it's sad that you wouldn't be able to do that. So I don't remember she coming back and saying, "Oh, I was really nervous in Afghanistan or Iran." She was like, "Oh no, I got to ride a donkey in Greece." I mean, just things unheard of. It's just incredible stories. And
during that trip to Jordan, I remember being on a mountain. We were with an Iraqi female doctor, her sister, and a Jordanian soldier, and myself. And we were talking, and we concluded that rather than have all of these everyday people fight the wars, just let the leaders who have a beef with each other fight.
Mm-hmm.
So at that time, it would have been Saddam Hussein and George Bush. Put them in the ring and let them fight, because Iraq had nothing to do with it. Right. We went to Iraq because George Bush Sr. got beat up by Saddam.
Right.
We lost all of those soldiers because of one man's ego. Unless I'm wrong.
And you look at Afghanistan, I mean, that was basically, a staging area. You had, nomads and people like that, and then the radicalization increased through the years. But most of these 9/11 hijackers, they weren't from Afghanistan.
From Saudi.
They're from Saudi Arabia, yeah.
And Saudi, along with Osama's family, they were airlifted out of the United States. They were airlifted.
Yes. Yeah. And
so it became a series of lies of trying to figure out, well, what's the truth? And what's unfortunate is the lives lost for the wrong reason. If you're going to send me to war, just tell me the reason. But don't lie to me. Because the question still remains, well, if they were in Saudi, why didn't we go to Saudi?
And where was Osama bin Laden captured and killed? Not Afghanistan. Pakistan.
And nobody's won in Afghanistan. That's like fighting an undefeated champ. Yeah. I got to tell you this story. John, we were in a Wadi Rum desert, W-A-D-I, Wadi Rum. It's like the rum you drink. And there were sand dunes all around. And I was trying to climb up a sand dune. First I walked, then I found myself down on all fours, trying to get up this sand dune. Well, lo and behold, I look behind me, and there's a Jordanian in flip-flops. And damn if he didn't sprint past me like Carl Lewis, Jesse Owens.
Yeah.
He just sprinted, and I realized right then and there, now, you got U.S. soldiers, these kids 19, 20 years old, never seen anything like this. What, they got 75-pound backpacks? And you're fighting people who are so accustomed to this landscape. Like, we look at them in caves and like, oh, that's archaic. That's, that's cavemanish. The caves are where the AC is. That's how you stay cool in the desert. But to us in our American minds, we go and cut on the air conditioner. But there in the Middle East, we just assume that these people who have been there thousands of years don't know anything. We go there just like Vietnam. We go there thinking these people are uncivilized. And boy, did we learn a lesson.
Very, very sad. Yeah, it's just, you just feel for the people, you feel for the women and the children over there. What's it going to be like 5 years from now, 10 years from now?
Well, John, so what do you think about bringing the Afghanis home to America?
Well, what do we got? 95,000, I think, that may be coming here. Something like that. I think that's what the number is. What do you do? I mean, other countries are only accepting so many people. These are people, I guess, that somehow help the U.S. translators or whoever.
That's a lot of damn people. And you had all of them people on your side and you still lost. I mean, that's That doesn't add up. I mean, me, myself, why not just build them their own town? Maybe like Israel, give them weapons. But I'm not fighting for you if you won't fight for yourself. I'll be damned about that. That's just against common sense.
And then the Afghan president flees the country. I mean, it's just, it was a war that could never be won and will never be won, 50 years from now or whatever. It's just.
So when do you pull out, John? How long do we risk our American soldiers' lives in a war that can't be won? People who won't fight for themselves. How long do we stay there?
Well, there were some arguments that after Osama bin Laden was killed by the special forces in Pakistan, that we should have pulled out of Afghanistan there. If the goal was to go after who we believe masterminded the 9/11.
Bingo.
How many years ago has that been?
When Obama was in office?
It's 10 years. I'd have to look it up. It's been a long time. But I think that whoever it was, George W. or Obama or Trump, knew that it was a hornet's nest, and the idea of just quietly and peacefully withdrawing U.S. troops, something's going to happen. And it's
But there's something.
The optics are bad. It's bad for Biden.
There's something we don't talk about, John. Just like with Vietnam, what else do they have in Afghanistan that's of interest to people in America?
I don't know what.
They sell it around the corner. Don't they got the poppy seeds over there in Afghanistan? The heroin, the boy, the boogie down, the smack. One of the world's largest producers. Over in Vietnam, didn't they have a lot of heroin?
Yeah.
Nobody talks about that. I remember watching some documentaries on when they went up into Iraq. Was Iraq about beating up Saddam Hussein, or was it about a stick up for some oil?
I think that's why George W. didn't go after Saudi Arabia at the time to pinpoint, where are these guys from? They spent some nights at a motel on Route 1 in Laurel, plotting this. They worked out at the gym and whatnot, because the ties between Saudis and the U.S. were pretty good. And then there's the oil connection, the royal family. You go after where the terrorists are, and who cares about your ties to the leaders of that country.
And then we have to understand the role we've played internationally. If I'm not mistaken, we are partners with Israel. Israel gets more aid from the United States than all of the Arab countries combined. So we're joined at the hip in a conflict in the Middle East that many of us don't even know about.
Yeah.
Going back to 1945, if I'm not mistaken. By the way, when I was in Jordan, we visited a Palestinian refugee camp, and I'll never forget this elder telling me how Christians, Jews, how there was a time when Christians, Muslims, and Jews all lived in harmony prior to 1945.
It's so sad. Social media obviously hasn't helped at all, and I think it's catapulted the terrorists, and for that matter, domestic terrorists as well. All of these, the websites that people follow and whatnot, and wherever they get their information from, and it's not news, in my opinion. It's whatever you want to call it, propaganda, information, or whatever. They're indoctrinated. And
when it comes to terrorists, if someone invaded this country, we would have a problem with it. When we invaded Iraq, isn't it true that not all of the Iraqis were terrorists? So that became a big thing. Who's a terrorist and who's just an everyday person living here?
Right. It's what happened in Vietnam. Who's the enemy? How could we tell? It was a lot of innocent folks killed, as there always are in wars throughout history.
So how are you managing through COVID?
Well, got my shots back in April, and but it's still frightening. You're looking at the news and you're seeing this many people that have gotten the COVID, and they were vaccinated 4 or 5 months ago, and they've got 104 temperature and chills and the aches and pains, and you don't know what the long-term impact is. Will the vaccine prevent you from having all of these, what do you call, long hauling symptoms? You had 2 reporters from Channel 11 that were out for quite a while, and
I was with one of them yesterday. I didn't know that until she told me.
Yeah, I think it's common knowledge. Are you talking about Jane?
Jane and Barry Sims.
And Barry Sims. I hadn't seen Barry on the air for a while. I saw him back in the winter, shivering, doing these live shots. And sometimes, reporters sometimes can disappear and you don't know. It's like when an anchor doesn't show up one night. It's like, oh, what happened to this person? Well, they're on vacation. Reporters, sometimes it's, I've been gone for over a year. People probably think I still work there. But it was very upsetting to hear about Barry. He was out for quite some time. He was hospitalized. He's obviously recovered, and I see him back on the air. So that's good news. And Jane Miller had some lingering problems. That was my concern when I was still working, because that was before vaccines. And if you're a TV reporter, you can't work from home. You still have to go out and cover things. And we were covering, you go into City Hall. I mean, there were precautions taken, but there were many police brutality protests. And there wasn't any social distancing. Some people wore masks, some didn't. Homeless people wander up to you. They're, real close. And I'm concerned. I'm over a certain age. I'm not 25 years old. And no, I was very concerned about it.
John, I was in a restaurant yesterday, and this couple came up behind me. They were within my 3 feet radius, and my Christianity totally went out the window. I turned around and said, "Back up." And the guy looked at me dumbfounded.
Yeah, I know.
But I didn't care. You up in my 3 feet space.
Yeah,
John, I don't want to fight anybody.
Yeah.
But somebody is that close.
I didn't mind when you went into a restaurant and every other booth or something is cordoned off. That's a good thing. COVID or no go. You just kind of have a little bit more privacy. But you are far more concerned about that now than you ever were. And now and I knew there would be outbreaks in schools because, especially elementary. So it only takes 1 or 2 unvaccinated adults or something. There's somewhere out in California, teacher had to take off her mask to read to the kids. Half the kids got COVID. And she may not even have known that she was infected at the time. Used to be you had a fever, you had the flu, and you felt like crap for 5 days, and then you took whatever you needed to take, and that was it. This is different. So I mean, I don't mean to be overly dramatic, but just the idea that somebody would say, well, you won't wind up in the ICU. Well, who wants to have 104 temperature and this and that and aches and pains, and then the fear of, am I going to get over this? And I haven't talked to Barry Sims personally about his struggles. I mean, I've talked to people that work at Channel 11, and I could, I knew people at where I worked that had COVID. And I think they all recovered, but it's.
But think about it, John. We started off talking about 9/11 and the new enemy of the world, which was Islamic extremists who don't like America. That's an enemy that you can see. Might be hard to shoot that son of a gun, but it's a physical enemy. 20 years later, as we're remembering 9/11, there's a new enemy, but this son of a gun is invisible. And you don't know almost what to believe. I mean, I was on the fence for a long time. But then when they said you can't travel, or you're going to have problems traveling if you don't get the shot.
Right.
I don't like to be pulled up by police, pulled out of line. I don't like those kinds of things. But then I know people in my own family who refuse to put the virus in them, who refuse to get. And I was one. But the numbers, I'm seeing you get the shot, you got a better chance. But you got people even today who like, no, I'm not putting it in me. But this is where my problem is. It was in Carroll County, the school board last night, and I was so disappointed. Sure, you have the right not to wear your mask, but you don't have the right to be in the same room with me if I'm wearing a mask. Period. End of story.
Right.
Go to another building, but you don't have the right to be in my space without a mask.
Wouldn't that be something if in these Carroll County and some of the ones that don't require masks, that they have a procedures like, okay, it's a free country, you don't have to wear that. But we're going to put you all in a separate classroom. We're going to have maybe 3 different grades.
Separate building.
There you go. Yes, separate building. Well, that's kind of difficult to do when you have an elementary school. I don't know how you do that. It's not going to happen. But it's like, okay, parents, you don't. Here's your freedom. But this is what we're going to do, and we're going to isolate you in certain areas. And I guarantee you there'll be an outbreak there. The outbreak will be among
look at Texas. Look at Texas and Florida.
Yes. Yeah, and now the courts have intervened in Florida, and the courts have said that the governor Ron DeSantis is that he overstepped his bounds, and that you got to be masks, and you have to be masked in elementary school. They can't get the vaccine. I mean, because all it takes is one adult that doesn't know, one teacher or staff or custodian, whoever, and they don't know that they have COVID, asymptomatic, and then 10 or 12 kids, and
So Governor Hogan and other Republican governors have pushed the issue of cutting unemployment benefits so as to push people back to work. Yet, and I get it, they want to spark the economy. I get it. Yet, we just brought in 95,000 Afghanis. Now, I don't know about you. I don't know how much money this country has or doesn't have. But if you're pushing everything to reopen, I think they should have just allowed people to have their benefits another year until you figure this thing out. Mm-hmm. But when you bring in 95,000 Afghanis, that's saying to me that you got plenty of money. So why not spend the money right here on your own people? I don't get, okay, I'm all about Jesus and Christ and all of that, but self-preservation is the first law of nature. Mm-hmm. Before I can feed you, I better feed myself.
Right. There's so many questions surrounding that. What agencies, and there'll be agencies, in Baltimore and states throughout the country. But I mean, you see, they're coming over with nothing. This is what, like the immigrants that took the boats over in the late 1800s, early 1900s. They had a change of clothes. There's no money, and it's what a sad set of circumstances that they had to leave like this. There's a teacher interviewed on NBC, I think, that had been over there for quite some time, and she had a nice house, and she knew that she couldn't live under the Taliban. And so at the airport, she had a small suitcase, and she had her laptop, and that's all she had. And she had to get out, and she was able to get out. She left the house. I mean, I don't know if she had family. I don't know. But you wonder how we can absorb all of this, because we're kind of still in a recession for most people. Unemployment rate is still fine.
Here's my question, John. Why would I want to be in Afghanistan anyway? It's already a danger zone.
Mm-hmm.
How responsible is the country for me when I decide I want to go to one of the most dangerous places in the world who hate Americans?
Yeah.
I mean, it wasn't like they just found out, oh, we're American, we better go. They knew this a year ago, 2 years ago. I wouldn't be there. I wouldn't be somewhere where at the blink of a, all of a sudden, okay, now they're coming after me. No, don't be there. They should have been left. This could have happened at any time.
There are a lot of people in this country. It's not just the, Republicans or Fox News crowd that say you never show all of your hands to your enemy. And they feel that that's what the Biden administration did. That months and months ago says, oh, we're going to pull out everybody by September 11th. And again, this goes back to the Trump administration and the deals that they were trying to broker with the Taliban or whatever. So now in the Taliban's world, they're like, okay, this is like intel to us. And so we can go about getting prepared to take over city by city. This all should have been done very quietly. And if it gets out, that's the one time that maybe it's good that an administration be kind of vague about it. Don't lie, but just say, well, we're working on, there has to be an exit strategy at some point in time. Because if there wasn't, 10 years from now, nothing will have changed in Afghanistan. But the idea that you decide an arbitrary date like September 11th, which is a very emotional date to millions of people.
John, you're in Afghanistan. Say you're the president. Say you wanted to move out, not September 11th. Say you wanted to move out June 11th. Mm-hmm. I can assure you that whenever you decided to move, they would already know. Because just like you got Afghanis that are working for the U.S.,
right?
Some of them are double and triple agents. The word would have gotten out. So
yes.
One could argue that while Biden put a date on it, if he didn't put a date on it, word would have still gotten out, especially as people start flocking to the airports.
Yes, and I don't have the solution for that. And either way, in a country like Afghanistan, yes, you're going to have violence and. What a tragedy. It wasn't just the 13 Americans. Look at the hundreds of other people that have been killed and for years and years. It's amazing that the casualty count for Americans wasn't higher than it was. Was it 2,400? 2,400 soldiers, I believe. More, other Americans in different capacities. Look at the Vietnam War. You had 57,000 casualties. In a much shorter period of time, but it's
we are quick as Americans to go to other parts of the world, promote our brand of democracy, and tell people how they should be living. When America takes Western values to places like Afghanistan, they have their own way of treating women.
Right.
They have their own way of treating little boys. I feel sorry for the little boys, according to the stories I've heard. All kinds of sexual molestation.
Yeah.
We want to put our values on them, but we don't realize that we got some messed up values ourselves. We claim we're democratic, but yet are we? Here in Baltimore, are we really democratic? African Americans are more Democrat than anyone, yet we keep voting for a system that repeatedly gives us failing schools, corrupt politicians, inept school commissioners and CEOs, a police force that's selling as much dope as the dope man. Is this really democracy? What is democracy? Palatable? This is a little more palatable.
Yeah, it's It's
I
very
just think we
troubling.
pass judgments on other countries, and we don't look at ourselves, but we claim we're teaching them a better way. And we forget this part, John. How about this? America is a very young country. 250 years old. Afghanistan's been around thousands of years.
Right.
I did have a nice time in the Dead Sea. You know about the Dead Sea?
Mm-hmm.
That's where you rub the mud all over your body. It's supposed to have healing values. And then my favorite part of Jordan, we were in Aqaba, Aqaba. Aqaba is in the south of Jordan, and it's right there by the Red Sea. And this was like the 9th day of the trip. We were making a right turn, and they said, over there is Egypt. Oh, my God. Nobody told me I could see Africa from there. But heck, I didn't realize Israel. I went to Israel. I mean, just stepping across a line.
Yeah. It is,
but the point I want to get to, John, is Iran, Iraq, Saudi, these countries are this close together. So from a news perspective, it's different than in America. In America, we get traditional mainstream news. NBC, CBS, ABC, CNN, Fox, MSNBC. But we don't realize in America, we're geographically isolated from much of the rest of the world. The Canadians, half of them speak French, the Mexicans speak Spanish. So we're geographically isolated, and we often have no idea of how other people think, live, what have you. We're over there in the Middle East. You're so close to each other, it's difficult to tell a lie because everybody knows the truth. Like BBC, I really fell in love with BBC News when I was in the Middle East because they have reporters from all countries, all races. It's harder to lie. In America, they can tell you a lie, and you have nothing to counter with. Over there, everything is close-knit. Everybody knows what everybody's doing.
Well, we're less isolated than we were years ago. I mean, the media is out there. If you want to watch the network Russia Today, it's somewhere on your cable system. But viewer beware, because isn't it bankrolled by the Russians or something? I mean, I knew a guy from Fox 45 that went down there to be the chief photographer. I don't know if he's still down there or not. I'm like, yeah, well, good luck with that. And then you have Al Jazeera, and people have a real mixed view of Al Jazeera. It's bankrolled by Qatar, I think it is, the government of Qatar. So again, I mean, it's the networks and sources are, they're out there if you want to watch. But Americans are we're set in our ways. We like Good Morning America in the morning, or you like Channel 13's morning show, or whatever. Or you love Fox News, or you hate Fox or MSNBC, and that's it. And that's dangerous to me, that so many people are getting their news from the source that, in my opinion, reaffirms their political views, that it's okay to think this about that person or whatever, especially if you hear the morning hosts. And I don't think on some of these cable stations, I wouldn't call them anchors. They're hosts. They're like talk show hosts. And the views are reinforced every single day, but you're coming away from that, I think, not as well informed as you should be. Pat, read the newspaper. I don't know.
On that note, Pat Robertson scares me. Because he'll use the Bible to justify American domination of the world. And I just think that's absolutely wrong. I don't hear Christ when I hear him. I hear George Bush's advisor, his spiritual advisor, if anything. I don't get it.
Wasn't he the one that 20 years ago said something about, well, the 9/11 happened because God did this, or something, something like that? He was trying to spin it somehow. People like that, I hate to indict a network, but when people watch that, they just believe everything that they're being fed. And it's like, but you're not real news person. Pat Robertson he's a preacher. He's not a news person. He's not a journalist.
But
So
people
if you're
believe
looking
him.
for a sermon, okay, then check him out. But he's not a journalist.
I'm all for being kind to people. I'm all for being kind to other countries. I think, when you're strong, you should help people who are not strong, but you can't help the whole damn world. You better help yourself first. Self-preservation is the first law of nature. And all of the money we spend all over the world, how about spending that money building our infrastructure here? We're having BG&E gas explosions. They had them, New Orleans dealing with the flooding and the electric lights. Texas, it wasn't that long ago, the whole state of Texas was on. Before I go over there trying to mess up or fix something else, I need to fix my own house.
No, so now that we're out of Afghanistan, as you say, that now the challenge is, what do you do with 95,000 refugees, immigrants, whatever you want to call them? They meant well, I guess, and in some shape or form assisted the Americans that were over there, but they're not over there now. So now, what kind of skills do they have? Who's going to help them? Where are they going to live? It's, yeah.
I'm just going to say it. It might sound ignorant to some people. I can handle a fist fight. I understand people pulling out guns. I understand people pulling out knives. But I do not understand people that play with bombs.
Mm-hmm.
Suicide bombers in particular. Not saying that they are this, right, but I don't get that. How do you fight that?
No, they're still trying to find the guy that placed those 2 pipe bombs in D.C. Before the January 6th protest, insurrection, whatever. There's still images of him on TV. I don't know if they're going to find him or not.
I tell you what, if Donald Trump had done what he did in one of those Middle Eastern countries, we wouldn't even be talking about Donald Trump.
Mm-hmm.
They would have taken care of him right away. Mm-hmm. He turned on our own country. And they're bringing up stuff from the Civil War. The Civil War is 200-300 years ago, 1865. My God.
Well, that tweet that Trump put out on January 6th is still circulating, where he didn't call his vice president a traitor, but he said that he let down the people or something because he didn't take action. Vice President Pence knew that he had no legal authority to do anything. His role in the certification of the electoral votes is just procedural. He's there because that's how the process works. So, it rekindles the whole debate on the Electoral College, but the Electoral College is never going to be abolished, in my opinion. Now,
Republicans are losing. It's a mad scramble to keep their votes because numerically they're outnumbered. Mm-hmm. America is getting browner by the minute. And you look at the laws that are being passed in these various countries. Mm-hmm. These people passing these laws do not believe in an America for everyone. They do not. I think they should have their own part of the country. They should be over there, and people that want to live with people should be over here.
Are you talking about Texas?
Just people that don't want to live with other people. They should either be voted off the island or given their own state. Let them go there, not wear masks, hunt, shoot, do whatever you want to do. But the problem is when you got to live beside somebody who says, I don't have to wear a mask. Last night on television, they had a teenager from Carroll County who was only repeating what he was told. If I don't want to wear a mask, I shouldn't have to wear a mask. You're right, but you don't have the right to infect me, partner.
Yes. Yeah. We got speed limits. There's a lot of other laws on the books. Yeah, this is totally different. This is, you're right. It is the unknown enemy. And if I don't even know that I have it, that I got COVID, I'm wearing my mask more and more in places over the past month. And I thought this was all over. I thought, okay, you can go in here and there, and now I'm seeing more signs. But, if you go into a Wawa, it says highly recommended CDC and whatnot, but they're not going to question people. And I think the people that work there are instructed. People come in without a mask. We're not going to engage. We don't want a fist fight. We don't want somebody, God forbid, pulling out a gun or something like that. So, but I'm worrying more just for myself. I don't know who's infected. So, so I'm wearing, I don't like to wear the mask, but I'm wearing it more indoors. And, I would have never thought that, in September of 2021, like 6 months after getting the vaccine, that now I have to put my mask back on and to be worried that I'll still get COVID.
But look, it's real simple. Labor Day. People want a holiday. We Americans, we love our holidays.
Yes.
We will die for a holiday.
Right.
We're going to have this cookout. Everybody's coming over. We're going to dance. We're going to do the line dance. We're going to do the TikTok dance. We're going to do videos. We're going to do selfies. And we'll worry about COVID tomorrow.
Right. And that's a mindset of
then you did.
Generally, well, look, hey, 80,000 people at the football stadiums. Yeah,
Not
football
me.
is back.
Not
NFL, first NFL game is tonight. Tampa Bay and Dallas. Yeah, it's going to be sellout. I think that's in Tampa Bay. I interviewed somebody probably over a year ago. And he was young. I think he was in the military. He was I don't know, somewhere. He was not working. He was off duty or something. He says, he was talking about COVID. And he's like, I don't know. I mean, if I get it, I get it, and I'll get over it. And I think that is the mindset of a lot of people under a certain age. And then the people over a certain age, whatever their reasons are, vary. Maybe it's a Biden plot or the government or, I don't know. Has anybody, has any sports reporter pinned down Lamar Jackson in terms of why he does not want to get the vaccine? I mean, we've heard kind of vague answers from him, but I'd like to.
It's irresponsible. I could see if he was a wide receiver, a punter. You are the quarterback. That means you are the center of attention. Everybody's in your face. Everybody's giving you dap. Everybody's doing the hits. You are the center of attention. You got to get it. You done caught it twice. Dude, insanity is doing the same thing and expecting a different result. And he's going to remove himself from the NFL, is my opinion, if he doesn't conform. And he will have no one to blame but himself. So be a health vegan nut, or you're going to be a quarterback. But if you're a quarterback, it's just like if you're in the military. You got to get the shot, don't you?
It would have been great where back in July or June that he has a public news conference, or he goes somewhere, invites all the reporters into the camp in Owings Mills and has somebody, give him the shot just so we can see it, verify he's gotten the shot, and then talk to reporters and then express maybe the concerns that a lot of people have. I was concerned about this, or I'm an athlete. I thought, what's it going to do to me in 6 months or so? I mean, these are legitimate arguments, but keep in mind, if you're a quarterback, how many times are you going to suffer a concussion? He suffered a concussion in the playoff game last year or earlier this year. And, that long-term medical damage that can be done from repeated concussions, it's very scary. And there's a lot of older players that have suffered quite a bit. But, that was the risk that they were taking. And I don't know.
Unnecessary risk. Unnecessary.
Right.
And you're talking about business. So if I'm a business owner, that's why you see this backup quarterback in all of the place. This is business. Because the other owners are going to come up eventually with a rule: no vaccine, no play.
Well, look at Cam Newton got cut from the Patriots. He's still, he's not 38 years old or 40. And I'm not a real big football expert or fan, but some people are questioning. And, Bill Belichick, his reputation, I mean, he is a no-nonsense so-and-so. And did he just say, quietly to him, okay, you know what? You don't want the vaccine, you're out of here. We don't know that, and they're going to keep that quiet. But that's the kind of person Belichick is.
It's business.
It's a business. And John Harbaugh is a nice guy, and I don't know what conversations he's had with Lamar. And then from a medical standpoint,
he's begging him. He's probably begging him, dude, get the shot.
I would think so. Yeah. I mean, he should be in a closed room with Lamar and start throwing stuff against the wall and saying, okay.
You've already seen the telltale signs. You saw other quarterbacks in the game.
Mm-hmm.
Because they have to. This is a business. I run a business. You run a business. This is business. Our aim is to survive and succeed. If you have a person on your team, no matter how good they are, that's jeopardizing the ship, they gotta go.
Right.
It's
now,
not complicated.
from a medical standpoint, after you have COVID, your body builds up antibodies. So, at what point in time is he contagious to other players? So, maybe in his mind, he thinks, "Oh, I just got it, so I've built up the antibodies."
Caught it twice.
Right.
And then there are other people, non-athletes, who say, "Oh, my immunity system is strong." Yes, it very well may be strong,
right.
But it doesn't mean that the person you infect is strong.
That's right. And as a quarterback,
and if you don't need the shot, you don't have the right to be around other people who have.
Yeah. Well, I would hate to see the Ravens have to forfeit a game because there was an outbreak, whether it was from him or the few other people that are not vaccinated or Stafford. I don't know if it's required. I would think that it would be required for all of the people that work for the Ravens organizations to be vaccinated. The Players Association is very, very influential, and that's why there's no mandate. And I'm sorry, there shouldn't be any games forfeited this season because of COVID, because we have the vaccine. Last year was different. If he got COVID last year, sometimes there's not, you take precautions and it happens, and it's happened to other people. This year, the optics are not good. So
we love you, Lamar. We like winning.
Super Bowl. I wish him well.
We love you, Lamar. We like winning, but we love living more than we like winning.
Yeah. So life is a gamble. You got to, at some point you have to say, okay, do I get the vaccine and hope that I don't have any side effects 6 months from now? Well, there's no evidence that people are having side effects or long-term problems. The only long-term problems are the people that get COVID, and the two reporters from Channel 11 are a prime example. They just it wasn't over in a week or two. It's scary.
John, what's next for you? How can people get in touch with you?
Oh, well, I can give you my email address if you need that. JPRYDELL@Verizon.net. Been doing
one more time.
JPRYDELL@Verizon.net. Been doing a little bit of freelancing for a couple of political websites, a podcast here and there. Future remains to be seen, but it's how it is. But how's the book tour?
Well, we have our next one on the 22nd in 2 weeks. 2 weeks from yesterday. Just like anything, selling a book is a full-time hustle.
Yes.
You need partners.
Sure.
You can't do it by yourself. You got to take advice from people who are more successful at it. I try to listen to David Miller. He's got about 14 books out. But I can assure you it's a full-time hustle all by itself. But John, we expect to see some big things from you in the future. I don't know what the crystal ball is saying, but I'm sure glad to know you.
I'll be around, I'm sure, as you will. Good luck with that book, and I'm looking forward to reading it. I admit I haven't read it yet, and the whole debate about when you first learned about what happened in Oklahoma. It wasn't 30 years ago.
No, Captain John Brown, he's one of the heroes in the book, as well as Chief John Horse. Well, we got a lot of comments on here. We can go back and check them later. But John, thank you very much for a beautiful morning. It's always a pleasure to catch up with you.
Yeah, thanks so much. I really appreciate it.
For keeping Sandtown on your radar all throughout your career. You lent us an ear. You gave us a voice, and I will never forget it as long as I live.
No, I appreciate it. Definitely.
Good deal. Have a good day, everyone. We'll be back 7 o'clock tonight with the Black Business Roundtable live from Oakland, California. My name's Donnie Glover here with John Rydell, and you have a wonderful day.
Take care.